Catapult Digital is our initiative in the gaming industry sector. We are working with the Lebanese game developers / Arabic games on different components in this sector. When we started our conversation with Joseph Azzam from Lebanese game developers, we wanted to understand better what were their challenges today. I mean, from the lack of infrastructure in the current situation, lack of opportunities, and lack of scholarships as well. We kind of discovered that we might not be able to engage in all of those. So what we wanted to do is to make sure that Lebanese game developers, that is an extremely organic group that was created by two passionate developers and now has more than 150 other developers that engage in it, get the chance to be able to grow as an entity, as a legal entity, and fundraise for projects that would kind of fill those gaps that we spoke about. This is why we supported the Lebanese game developers to kind of create that entity. And also we supported the second edition of the Arabic Games Conference, in which they invite professionals from the field to talk about technological advancement in the field, to give lectures about the current trends, but also that give knowledge about the opportunities. There has been portfolio reviews of the portfolios of the developers for them to kind of be able to shape any application that they would want to do in order to advance on a professional level. We're opening up opportunities to give visibility as well to different game developers, but also to give them a chance to engage with other international stakeholders. One of those opportunities is the creation of a delegation from Lebanon to Games London, one of the major gaming festivals in the world and in the UK specifically. We are very happy with that collaboration with Michael French, specifically the director of the festival. We're hoping that the delegation is going to be able to engage in interesting discussions and find ways that would allow them to spread their experiences and their expertise in different markets than the ones in Lebanon. Between 2017 and 2019, the gaming industry was beginning to boom. There was a lot of opportunities created. For obvious reason, it got hit. I believe that this industry, if supported, would be able to become an extremely productive industry because we have a lot of talent here in the country, and I'm sure that it can transform our economy in a very positive way. This is why we are so passionate about this program, and I hope you're going to enjoy this conversation.
Welcome to this episode focus on the gaming industry in Lebanon. We have three special guests that I'm excited to have on. My name is Mikey Muhanna. I'm the founder and executive director of afikra. Today we have Joseph Azzam, Iyad El-Hout, and Ashraf Abi-Said with us to talk about the gaming industry in Lebanon. So maybe we can go around the room and start with you, Joe. Who are you and why are you involved in gaming?
I'm a game developer. Also work as a technical evangelist for Epic Games. I teach game development at USG. And I also work with Iyad and Ashraf on the community in Lebanon. And also other initiative involves communities outside the region as well, targeting the region as well. And why I make games is basically well, I'm a tinkerer and I learned a bit how to do 3D modeling when I was in high school, and then learned how to do programming in college, and I Googled how to make games, figured out I can do it, so I started doing it. And yeah, that's basically it.
Cool. Yeah, what about you?
So I have a bit more of a complicated history, but I basically started getting into games because, I don't know, I just love playing games and kind of analyzing and studying games. So I got into a game jam in 2016, and after that I just started trying to get as involved in the game industry as I could, and I saw there wasn't much of a game industry in Lebanon. So then myself and Joseph, and later on like Ashraf and a bunch of other people, like got together and started working really hard on like doing events, doing community initiatives, workshops, master classes, whatever we could. Even at some point like a game development party even. Didn't go very well, but it was still very fun to do. So yeah, like since like 2016, I guess I've been just running around doing a bunch of different things, even stand-up comedy and writing. But a lot of my focus has been on like trying to build the game industry in the community here in Lebanon and beyond, and trying to kind of help it grow.
It's cool. Ashraf, what about you?
So I, games industry because I took an English course at uni about creative writing and talk about games, but I don't know games. You guys do. So we kind of helped him build the class in a way. So it was like we were like, kid game designers in a way. And he invited my current boss to class to give us a tiny talk. And then he invited Joseph as well. So I kind of got involved with the LGD basically via this class in one way or another. And I currently work in the games industry. On the side, I also help at the Animal Encounter, which is an educational center for wildlife conservation. So we take care of wild animals and stuff and release them. Other than that, I've worked on a bunch of different pretty big projects. Actually, yesterday, Iyad and I worked on the Global Game Jam. Before that, we had an initiative with AUB to have around. Before that, there was the Gaming Academy, and even before that, there was Arabic games and stuff. So tons of stuff, all thanks to the community that these guys have built. So yeah.
So Joseph, maybe you can shed a little more light about a term that has come up in the intro, which is Arabic games. Arabic games isn't necessarily games in Arabic; it's a nonprofit, and seems to be at the sort of the center point of the entire community based in Lebanon. What is Arabic Games, and how did it start?
So there's two things actually. We are involved in Lab Game Dev and Arabic Games. So Lab Game Dev is our initiative that we started years ago. Like I think it's been like 5 at least years, maybe I don't know. We've been focusing on the community in Lebanon and having a lot of initiatives. Even until the pandemic, we had so many events on a monthly basis. We focused on everything from game showcases to game jams to master classes. We flew in people from outside the region to give some workshops. Some known names like Cillian Hodent for user experience or Jason DeRocca for business. And we also had
Don't forget the
own,
party. Don't forget the party, Joseph.
I'm trying to. We tried to do a fundraiser. That was fun. We raised minus $200. So that was actually quite a success. Anyway.
It was fun for us, though. And the people who came, it was fun for them.
Yeah, those are the days. Anyway, and with the pandemic, we started shifting our stuff online. We realized that, well, we wanted to do stuff on a regional scale as well. I've tried to reach out to organizers across the region a few times before, tried to do something. It was very chaotic, didn't work. With the pandemic, a few organizers reached out and we figured out, okay, well, this seems like an opportunity to create an online conference that focuses more not just on Lebanon, but the region. And this is where Arabic Games came into play. And after that happened, we realized, okay, this is great, but also it's not enough. I think there's so much work that has to be done in the region, and we can actually push it. We can do bigger initiatives. And this is basically also the next step for Arabic Games, which is focusing on active initiatives. So passive initiative are the stuff that you do that like inspire people and it's open to everyone. Active is literally holding the hand of someone, getting him from point A to point B. And we want to do more of this. We're still focusing as well on Lebanon with that game dev. So we're still working on both. There's a lot of stuff that can be done locally in the country that we're focusing on those. And anything that is regional, we do it with Arabic Games.
So give me a sense of, and this can be for anyone, Iyad, you can jump in, but give me a sense of when somebody talks about the Lebanese gaming industry, what does that actually mean? Give me a sense of the context. How many developers are there? What is the general production? What environments are you guys developing in? Are you only thinking about mobile? Are you thinking about only games? Are you thinking about other app development? What frameworks are you using? Give us a sense of what you guys do.
Well, we are actually focusing on anyone. We're not putting any limitation. If you want to do a game, we're here to support you, not to tell you you can't do it. And in this case, this is where Iyad can actually talk about this stuff because I'm mostly focusing on the games I know. Iyad's actually doing a lot of interesting stuff. So do you want to talk about this?
You're focusing mostly on Unreal Engine, I think. Probably. That's what Joseph knows the most. But yeah, here in Lebanon, there's not a huge game industry. There's not a very big community, but the community that is there, the industry that is there, we try to support it as much as we can. And it gets, I think people would be surprised how diverse it is. There's definitely a focus on mobile and kind of casual and especially in recent years, hyper casual games and game development. But there are people who also work on like indie games that are kind of more focused on PC. There are people who are trying to make board games as well. There are people who are experimenting and doing like educational games. We're trying to do interactive games that are like physical games, alternate reality games. There aren't a lot of them, and a lot of people as well. One of the big struggles we find here is unless you're doing casual or hyper casual games, it's difficult to continue working on those games at a certain point because you don't have an environment or a space or like even funding to continue working on these games or build them up to the point where they're ready for release. And this is what we're trying to kind of do now as the kind of next step with Lebanese game developers and with Arabic games. Is like we're trying to push to get to the level where we can take these ideas and these talented people and like give them those final pushes they need to finally like publish more games.
There are tons of mobile developers that find it easiest to publish and stuff, because when it comes to like the different places that you can publish games on, mobile is always the easiest. And considering that the devs, like smart devs, are taken abroad, and what we lack in Lab mostly isn't the development quality, it's the design quality. So we're good at making things. It's just what things that we want to make that we're not very good at. And this is what we do at Arabic Games, and part of all the initiatives happening in Lebanon. We want to help people make good quality stuff instead of just the making part. We want the quality and the good part as well. So yeah.
Just there are people like making VR games as well, but they're kind of on a smaller scale because that's kind of the easiest way to kind of self-publish something. Because a lot of people, when they make games here, they're either self-published or it's a relatively small publisher, because it's not just the design stuff. Even though Ashraf is 100% correct, there's a lack of knowledge in terms of game design, which we're trying to help and rectify that. But there's also a lack of knowledge and networks in terms of the business side as well. So like, even if you have a great idea and you know how to pull it off, like there's a lot of barriers to go through, not just in terms of funding. It's also like, how do you get your game on Steam? How do you market it properly? How do you get the consumers to actually look at it and buy it? All this stuff is kind of missing here. And it's kind of easy to kind of get people from outside to just have a Zoom call, give a 1 hour talk, and then, what do you do after that?
Yeah. So what are the big sort of concrete next steps you hope happen over the course of the next 5 years that can help build out that pipeline? And, build out each one of those legs of the stool, maybe to get the industry to be on more solid footing. So there's consumer awareness, maybe infrastructure stuff, compatibility between design skills and development skills. What are some things that you hope are going to come first and second and third, and then what does it actually look like over the next 5 years? Yeah,
I just keep thinking of infrastructure, but that stuff doesn't make a difference.
Infrastructure is the most important thing. Definitely, if you think about it, just having fast internet, it means you can download the tools you need. It shifts the whole industry. Unreal Engine, for example, is 25 gigabytes of download. Unity was a few gigabytes. And that's on its own made a lot of people in Game Jam decide, I'm going to use this engine instead of that one because I can download this one instead of that one. Not because this engine is, so there's always those type of limitation that affects literally everything. Increasing the internet, just I can watch tutorials, I can actually use Marketplace. I don't have to spend 3 hours waiting for the download to finish. I can just make that decision and finish my prototype outputter. This will on its own shift everything we're doing. That is very critical. So yeah, I think the infrastructure is the main point for sure. Then the next step is, there's a lot of stuff that you can do and you have to, at the end of the day, we're a small team, but the basic stuff, and then there's the very specialized stuff you can do. The basic stuff is you need to inspire someone. You need to tell them, yes, you can make games, because someone who doesn't know how to make games, it's always that really complex thing that I can't touch. And just telling them that is actually something you can reach on its own is great. The second thing is offering them a community once they have problems or any question. Hey, you can go ask someone directly. You'll get that answer you need. So those are the very easy stuff that we're mostly focusing on. And then you have the advanced stuff. You need to give them funding. You need to give them proper workshops. Workshops, not like watch a tutorial, but more like, I'm going to look at your art and this is a solution specific to you. This is what's wrong with your art. This is what you need to focus on instead of go watch this tutorial and just, trial and error, figure out what's wrong with your problem. Because it's like same thing as an internship at a big studio. A new artist, junior, who's doing the art, he goes there, he sees the professional artist, he can instantly tell him, hey, you know what? Your art will look a lot better if you just change that light in that direction and just this. And you'll grow a lot quicker. And that's what we lack a lot because there are no studios in Lebanon or those job opportunities. So we either have to get this. Yeah.
Like the knowledge is out there. Like Joseph said, a lot of times it's just like, if you go on the internet, you can't write how I make better art, is you just get a generic response that isn't really related to you. And you need someone that can at least just guide you a bit, tell you, actually, you should look at this, and that. Like, it's not enough to just have access to the knowledge. You need people who can also guide you and tell you and help you along the way.
So I want to ask a little questions since we're talking about teaching and guiding. Each of you have some sort of affiliation with a university. So like Ashraf, I'll start with you. In your bio, it says that you teach at AUB. The nature of what you're all doing as building community is all about education, fostering leadership and mentorship and educating. What sort of institutional relationships or what role could institutional relationships play in Lebanon to build this smaller community into a really robust, productive industry that is really shaping the economy for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, so one of the things we're doing, actually left uni and stuff because of the intensity of my professor and myself in games and stuff, we were able to start up more or less a minor at AUB, which was, very special. And this is more or less how I'm teaching in the university. Like I do have a bit of knowledge in narrative design and stuff, and I've taken the course and given it multiple times under the professor. So they kind of know, my personal skill and what we can give to the students. Now, this surprisingly isn't the only university that's giving, courses in game dev. Like we have approximately like 4 courses that are specifically directed towards game devs in AUB. We also have NDU with Joseph. We have AUST with another professor, and LAU is also giving game dev course. But
I'm USG, not NDU, but there's AUST with Giuseppe.
LAU, there's a professor that teaches in Unity as well.
Okay. I have zero affiliation with any university.
Universities are getting to it, but the people they are getting are not the professionals that other universities have, which makes sense to a certain extent. So I guess quality is, Joseph's amazing, but in general, more professional courses, I would say something along the lines of, oh, hey, I'm a game developer. I've developed games. I'm going to teach you how to create things is a very basic step that I think anybody who's interested in education and teaching at a university and games should be able to help out with, basically.
So there's a few things about universities. What they're doing is, in my opinion, is not enough, but they're also doing something that is very important. So let's take the perfect university for game development. Game development program, that you need to take a student, and by the end of the program, that student can get hired at a company. He's making quality that you can actually hire someone based on. That is not the case right now. And this takes at least the best universities right now, at least a 2-year program that is very intensive. The problem with universities right now is they're just a big ship that they can't really shift fast enough. And the way we're going to see it happen is slowly they're going to start teaching game development until they get to a decent level. That can take at least a decade. Like I'm teaching at my university, they're doing an introductory course. We need a follow-up course at least, but even that is not enough because you need a proper major in order to get to that point. However, you can look at what UB is doing, for example, and then they launch this minor. They have access to so many students and they are getting a lot of students into the industry, but not directly. Like once people finish this final, they're not going to immediately find jobs outside of the country. They can probably find in local studios, but there's still ways to go. But at the same time, the Game Academy program you launched, how many people, Ashraf, did you like graduate?
So we had around 500 people joining us throughout the entire thing, which is amazing. We had around 18 sessions, and this was all in Lebanon, by the way. Like we didn't spread out to other countries because we weren't sure how big we could go. And it was done with Khadid Beirut. By the end of it all, I think we had around almost 150 to 100 people that watched all of the sessions, and some of them, because of the Karaba and the internet, they watched them on YouTube and did the homework and stuff. So yeah, there are tons of people who are genuinely interested in creating games, and we kind of gave them a base at the Gaming Academy. Who Arabic Games is planning on expanding on that, and we should be going a bit more focused.
So yeah, basically it is expected. It's always like you have a lot of numbers, and at the end there's less. There's no way, and the retention rate is great, 150 out of 500. That's amazing. But this is what I said. Like universities have the potential to get the reach to those people, but they will only get them at some point. And this is what we're going to focus on mostly, is getting those people from those universities that are interested and actually now push them to actually get those jobs. Until eventually universities will catch up, but that will take some time. That will take lots of time. So they do play a crucial role in this, but yeah, they're not on their own, there's not enough.
Cool.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So I want to transition a little bit to talk about Catapult. So for those watching, they should know that Catapult is this new pilot initiative by the British Council's Lebanon Art and Culture Department. And they're working with a bunch of different sectors. Gaming, obviously, is the one that we're talking about today. Maybe, Joseph, you can talk a little bit about what the project is, what that partnership is about, and what you all are working on.
I think Catapult we're interested in helping the game sector in Lebanon grow, and they will basically, looking on how to do that. And they came across me and other of my colleagues. They reached out, we started talking, and realized that we actually align in goals, that we also want to do the same thing, and they wanted to support us. And the main thing that we noticed was our limitation was not being a legal entity, because all of the effort we've done for years now has been just us collaborating, working. And then we realized at some point, we need to get money in order to expand on this, because this is becoming a full-time job and you can't really do it on the side anymore. And to get funds, you need to have a legal entity, and to have a legal entity, you need money. So that we stuck in that loop. So they want to help us with the initiative, and they wanted to help us with this. So right now we're working together on setting up the structure. We're working with them on the festival for sending a delegation. And the next step would be an educational program, the one we mentioned, which you need to get people after university, or someone who has some basic knowledge of game development. How do you get them to the job phase? And this is what we're focusing on. And step by step.
The conference, of course. Conference.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about this conference, the Arabic Games Conference. Go for it.
Okay, so Arabic Games Conference is something we launched in 2020 during the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic even. So like Joseph said, we saw kind of felt like what we were doing in Lebanon kind of could be transferred to the whole Arab region. There was a lot of communities are already doing kind of localized stuff like we were doing in Bahrain, in Qatar, in Egypt, in Morocco, Tunis, Algeria, all these places. But it felt like we wanted to do something that would bring people together and kind of share that knowledge that everyone kind of has, not just in the Arab region, but also like from experts abroad, and kind of give everyone kind of the same, if you want, kind of like a level playing field, like have everyone get access to that knowledge, both in English and in Arabic. So we launched Arabic Games Conference. We got a bunch of panelists, a bunch of speakers, experts in their fields, and they gave talks about game development in Arabic, which, as far as we know, is the first time that's ever happened. We got, I think on the first edition, roughly maybe 2,000 people watching it and engaging with it, which was wonderful. And we did it again the next year, last year in 2021. I think we also got like maybe 3,000 people between like Discord and YouTube and Twitch, which was amazing. And we have like a decent Discord community now as well to kind of give people at least an online space that they can kind of share their knowledge and talk to each other and connect with each other. And we're hoping to kind of, again, like Joseph mentioned already, to kind of take that next step now and kind of help give them more programs, more workshops, more maybe like a full program even to kind of to give them that next step where like you have some base knowledge now, you learn how to use a couple of tools. How do you transfer that into like finishing a game? How do you transfer that into like getting all the skills you need to get a job in the game industry? And so you can grow and the industry can grow in the entire region.
Yeah, like one of my favorite parts of the Arabic Games Conference was the Games Showcase, where people, anybody who created a game could show off what they've done. And the stuff that have been created by, individuals or like teams in their free time is absolutely mind-boggling. Like they're genuinely really, really, really pretty games. Or, haram for them to just stop there, and somebody needs to help them. And why not us,
Yeah, there was the mentors as well, like at the Arabic Games Conference. I think you were handling mostly, Ashraf. Like we had a bunch of industry experts from like Leila Johnson to Rami Ismail, Sama Dirias, people who are kind of huge in the industry, and they just gave us their free time to help random people. And I say random people, but you know what I mean, just people who are just making games in the region, and they would go on voice channels, just talk to them and give them knowledge and advice and tips, both very specific and very general. It's just wonderful to see. And we were like, this is what made us happy. And we were like, we need to do more of this. And this is kind of when Catapult kind of came in. Like, yes, thank you. Help us do more of this. We want to do more of this. This is clearly really cool and really useful. We need to do more of this.
Yeah, great.
So just one thing I want to also add. I mean, Lab Game Dev is actually managed by us, but Arabic Games is an initiative for all the region, and we have people from the region also working with us. So we did not create it on our own. And there's also, for example, one of the organizers in Egypt, Nurhan. She's still with us right now. Hey, she's watching this. So we are looking on. So it's an initiative basically, hopefully, for everyone in the region. So just.
Joseph, maybe you can talk a little bit about what sort of opportunities are coming down the pike for you all as part of this program.
So we're going to be focusing on reaching out to our own communities, universities, studios that we know, basically everyone we can find in Lebanon. And we're going to make sure that they have good projects. We want to help them shed some light on those projects. Hopefully they can meet someone who can support those projects financially or with the marketing or other services. And we're quite excited about it.
What kind of impact do you think that type of partnership has? So, a delegation that's able to go to something like Games London or go get mentorship, even if informally, by folks in the UK, what kind of ripple effects does that have on the industry at large in the coming years?
It has a giant effect, actually, because at the end of the day, it's marketing. Everything is marketing and about public perception. The reason you go to events mostly is just to give the impression of something. So I'm not saying. So let's say you go to this conference, right? And there's a delegation from Lebanon. Then people will start assuming there's stuff happening in Lebanon, and by that logic, you're going to see more people showing interest in supporting stuff in the country as well. So they're going to go more in the country. And then that will lead to other people getting funding, creating those studios.
Let's try to wrap up by asking you about what's coming, what we should expect from Arabic Games in the coming year, especially given the opportunity that you have now with Catapult. Maybe Joseph, you can try to take a shot at this.
This is definitely a scary step for us because for the first time, we're actually a legal entity. At least, we did the application. We're waiting for the government to finish the paperwork. But this also, before you had the excuse of, you're not a legal entity, you can't do this. Now we are. So now we're going to get the funding. That thing that we've been working on getting for years is happening now. So Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But other than that, it is very exciting too because we're gonna finally be able to do a lot of the initiative we wanted to do. We're gonna be able to accelerate exponential speeds everything we've been doing. Like, oh, you wanted a space? Yep, here now you can afford it. The end result, basically, you're gonna see way more developers in the country. You're gonna see them at a much faster rate happening, because also you have to think about the countries that a lot of people. We expect a lot of people to leave the country. They will come back eventually, maybe, but we have to graduate so many people, and we are getting there. Like this, we expect to have like we used to have what 100 developer as a community. That community can expand to 1,000 easily in like a couple of years. You can have more studios, more people making games, more people getting funding, more success stories. Basically all of that. The more you have this will have also its own ripple effect. You're going to see, oh, there's studios. Okay, universities will step up the pace as well to graduate students that get hired in those companies. People will see, oh, there's money, there's jobs in this. They're going to become a valid career path. So all of this basically that was bound to happen very slowly. With this, it will happen like, I don't know, 5 times the speed. Like instead of 10 years, you can see it in 2 years. That's basically
Great.
Yeah, because we used to always like be active and then get slightly inactive because we all had other projects and spinning plates. But now you're gonna see like Arabic games and hopefully even Lib Game Dev like be more active, more activities on the Discord, more social media stuff, more highlights, more showcases. You're going to see another difference, more workshops, more everything, basically. Everything is going to happen. Like Joseph said, it's going to happen faster.
Hey, and there's really no lack of interest at all when it comes to games. Yani, literally, when we started the Gaming Academy, I'm like, look, I want to help you guys learn how to make games. You know, same thing with Arabic games. Yeah. And people were like, yeah, I want to learn how to do that. And then we gave them sessions, and then that was it. You know, and for free in one way or another, or you know, at our cost, basically. For considering that there's actual funding now and something that we can do in a serious, you know, strong manner. There's no lack of talent. There's no lack of interest. It's just a lack of infrastructure and direction. And this is what we do now, which is honestly amazing. Just like, you know, everyone else said, the feedback loop is just going to keep feeding into itself. And it's going to be like, we can project and it'll be something amazing, you know. We might as well go on.
Thanks so much for your time. I'm excited to see what comes of this project and excited to see more games coming out of Lebanon and from Lebanese developers around the region.
We're excited as well. Thank you.